Hello Capsuleer, my name is Gildy and welcome to EVE Online. Today I wanted to talk about a little bit about how to get out of one of the scary situations an explorer might get themselves into, that is, bubble camps. Bubbles come in all shapes and sizes, from 6 different anchorable ones that will take a little bit of time to get anchored in space and work as a deployable structure which can be destroyed by anyone or kept for hours on end by people deploying it, through interdictor bubbles that can be released on command by destroyer-sized interdictors, which can only be blown up by a smart bomb or a bomb released by a stealth bomber, to heavy interdictors that become a center of their own bubble that they can put up and down as needed and travel around with it. What all of those have in common is the nasty ability to block your warp. If you are inside of one, you cannot initiate warp unless you have certain modules that allow for that, but have their own drawbacks, which I will talk about a little bit later. Usually, you will need to burn out of a bubble in order to be able to escape the grid you are on, but you don't always need to have a very clear way when warping out. What I mean by this is that if one edge of the bubble is closer to you, you can burn in that direction, then warp through the bubble, as the game makes the calculations on if you will be dragged on the target location, not the initial one. So just being outside of a bubble is enough to be safe. Additionally, if you initiate warp to a place where the bubble is set up already when you did it, and the calculations take place when you hit warp and hear the
warp drive active
during initiation, you will hit a bubble as well. However, this also means that if someone puts up a bubble on your destination after you hit warp, you will be totally fine and fly through it, as all calculations have been made the moment you hit the warp button. Moreover, due to how the game mechanics work, your warp vector keeps going in a straight line through the object you are warping to. This means that having a bubble up to 500 kilometers from the destination will drag your ship to the edge of the bubble rather than let you land on the destination itself. This is called using drag bubbles or catch bubbles, and is commonly used in nullsec, where locals hunt for unsuspecting travelers. Bubbles can also be deployed in wormholes, pochven, and fully corrupted lowsec insurgency systems. I have talked about the best way to avoid bubbles in general when traveling, using purchase on gates, safe spots, and bouncing off of celestial bodies before you approach the gate, in order to change the angle you approach the gate from, making it less likely to be dragged. I will put the links to the videos about this in the description of this video. So, what do I mean by running bubble camps? When you take a gate and realize that the other side of it is bubbled, you'll need to react in a way that does not end with your ship being shot and you being podded back to home station. First and easiest way to do it is to engage your micro-warp drive together with your cloak and burn back to gate. Hop through and then warp off before the attackers can follow you. That way you disengage the easiest and can look for a different route, or if you are just out exploring, take a filament to a different space because you might now be hunted by locals now that they know about you. The other way, and you might need to use it even if you did use the first technique, is to run through the bubble. If the other capsuleers have an interdictor, that ship might follow you quickly, as dropping interdiction bubbles does not start weapons timer for them. Then they will bubble the other side of the gate and wait for your move. So the best way to get through a bubble is of course with a ship that can use a cloak. Any cloak can really work, and I've run some bubbles even using a simple Tech 1 frigate and Imicus in Pochven, leaving behind a 10-man bubble camp on a gate looking for me. How you do this is the following. Stop panicking, as some of you might do, and I did in the past myself. You have a minute of gate cloak timer, so use it to look around for the best area to go to. double-click in space in a random direction, preferably as far from the aggressors as possible, making them take the longest to get you, as they will try to go for a decloak, so get under 2000 meters from you. Hit your propulsion module and cloak right away to start first of all gaining speed and secondly prevent from being targeted. Then, after 2 to 3 seconds when you are not visible to your enemies anymore, as you do not disappear from the screen for them right away, which you can see on the screen right now, you change your direction. That way, enemies will usually try running in the direction they last saw you, maybe trying to make bigger and bigger circles around the area. But since you are already pushing a few kilometers away from that spot already in a different direction, you will usually be safe. Next step is to patiently wait. If you are in a ship with Covertop's cloak, you will quickly burn out of the bubble and be able to warp to a celestial body or any other spot in the system considering your next move. If you are running a ship with a basic cloak, then you should be burning for a long while, as your warping off won't be so easy. Prototype cloak cuts 90% of your max speed, improved cloak cuts 75% of it. So it is good to keep burning far enough that when you uncloak and hit warp, hunters won't have the time to lock and tackle you. That is because you will need to gain the speed that you have lost under the effects of the cloak. In the example where I ran through a camp in Pochven, I burned out to 30 kilometers from the gate, taking my time as the hunters did have an Arazu on gate. When I got to that range, Arazu was around 45 kilometers from me, allowing me to align to a planet, uncloak and go through the warp without problems. A fact that new players might not know about is that if you really just need to travel through a system that might be bubbled, using shuttles is a great way to do so. All shuttles are nullified passively, allowing them to push through bubbles as if they were not there. And lastly, as promised, a few words about Interdiction nullifiers. This little module is a relatively new module in history of EVE, which allows you to ignore the bubbles completely. The module does come with a few limitations though. First of all, only certain ships can run them, those ships being interceptors, blockade runners, deep space transport ships, strategic cruisers, the luxury yacht, Covertop's ships and Tech 1 haulers. Secondly, you cannot use this module if you have a burst jammer or a Higgs anchor installed on your ship. Thirdly, they usually have a massive reactivation delay, which is ignored mostly only by interceptors, which can basically use it on every gate they travel through. And lastly, it is a purely defensive module, giving you a 50% penalty to drone bandwidth, scan resolution and targeting range. Therefore, the best option for your ship is usually the plain Tech 1 version, as it has the base reactivation delay of 100 seconds. The only ship that I can think that would need a Tech 2 or a meta nullifier would be a deep space transport that is using a micro warp drive cloak jump trick to warp off if you live in nullsec and sometimes need to push through even friendly bubble camps. That is because the higher tier modules have longer than 10 seconds activation time, giving you a chance to actually do the micro warp drive cloak jump trick properly. How the module works is that you can hit it even when under effect of gate cloak, then within the 10 seconds of the module activation time you need to hit warp. If you do that, you won't hit a bubble on your destination, but rather fly through it, and if you are inside one, you can ignore it and warp right away. If you want to train running bubble camps, get yourself a friend that will jump through a gate even in high sec next to you, then try to cloak and run away while they try to get to you to decloak you. Not only you will have some practice on avoiding being decloaked, they also get some practice in decloaking for the next time you might want to go gate camping. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe to see my future uploads. If you are interested in what I will talk about next, my videos go up every Sunday. And if we never see each other again in Space Capsulia, fly safe!